Hey there, friends, and welcome to episode 298 of Just the Zoo of Us. We are getting real close to 300, aren't we? That's pretty cool. This week, I am joined by a returning friend of the show, science communicator and comedy writer, Katie Goldin, for a roundup of her 3 weirdest facts about sharks. We discuss cage-free uranium, possible mermaid configurations, why sometimes people poop themselves when they're scared, how FOMO can conquer phobia, eye, teeth, and so much more. Just as a little bit of a heads up, a chunk of this episode's conversation is about cocaine. When it comes up, I will have edited in some guidance for skipping ahead for anyone listening who might not find that suitable. As always, there's no profanity or anything graphic, but it is a topic. Anyway, Just the Zoo of Us presents Katie Goldin's 3 weirdest shark facts. Hello there, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford with Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast. I'm so excited this week to have back a returning friend, a familiar voice to people who either have been listening to Just the Zoo of Us for a while or perhaps people who listen to other animal podcasts. This is Katie Goldin. Say hi, Katie.
Hi, Katie. Oh, wait, shoot. Darn it.
You know what? You got me last time, and so I think it's rule of 3s. I think you got to get the next one too.
Okay.
You got to bring it home with the next one.
Okay.
Katie, what are your pronouns?
She, her.
Thank you so much. And Katie, you are the host of a couple of other podcasts, Creature Feature, and also here on the Maximum Fun Network, Secretly Incredibly Fascinating, for people who maybe didn't catch your first episode here on Just the Zoo of Us, where we talked about cuckoo wasps a few years ago, or people who may be a little bit new to you. How did you get into the work that you do podcasting about cool animals?
Man, it was a wild ride. I started out as an, normal, honorable citizen.
I started out normal.
Yeah, slowly made my descent into podcasting. Yeah, I used to I had a desk job where I did educational materials for medical researchers, and then I started tweeting from the perspective of a bird, and that got really popular. And then I felt like, well, given that this is the case, then maybe I could start doing more creative writing type things, comedy writing. So Cracked hired me, and then a few years later they fired me and everyone else. And then after that, I was like, what's a field that has staying power and is not intensely competitive? And it was podcasting. Yeah. I'm joking, of course. It's
Oh, that's funny, because I feel like especially among like nerdy science podcasters, there's like a very supportive and communal sort of vibe. So to me, I'm like, yeah, that sounds right.
I think the vibes from the people, right? Like is that way for sure. But it's also, there's a billion million podcasts. So, but yeah, I really enjoy science communication. I studied psychology and evolutionary biology when I was in college, when I was a little itty bitty baby in college. And I feel like I've learned more about it through podcasting than I did in college.
I feel that way too. Like, I feel like I just through like doing science communication and like having to sit down and learn things in order to teach them to other people.
Yeah.
I definitely relate to that.
I have definitively read more papers during my podcasting career than I did in college, which is, I'm not blasting my education or my professors. They were great. That's why I got so interested in it. But yeah, it's really fun. I really enjoy doing it because in order to do it effectively, I have to keep reading all the time.
It's funny to me that you said that you got, kind of started writing medical research, like educational materials, because you're such a funny person. Like you're so funny, and I'm kind of only familiar with like you in a sort of like comedy context, that it is hard for me to imagine you writing possibly the most intentionally dry materials imaginable.
You don't think that endothelial cell renewal is funny?
Did you try to sneak some bits in there?
Some little bits, yeah. I would do little jokes like, hey, I know you have ankylosing spondylitis, but listen to this one about osteoblasts. They sure are a blast. I was surprisingly not fired from that job. I left it voluntarily.
But it was the comedy one that got you.
Yeah, they were like, no, you're too you slip in too many medical facts into the jokes. That's why I was fired.
The club simply could not handle you right now. You have to be right in the very sensitive Venn diagram overlap between being smart and funny. Right,
exactly.
A little too far to either direction, and they're like, no.
To clarify, we were all laid off from that. I was not actually individually persecuted for my medical humor.
They were probably like, you know what, this is not enough shark facts.
It's not enough. Could have been too many, could have been not enough, but today we're kind of doing 3, which seems like a good number.
That does seem like the golden number, right? Like I said, rule of 3s, right?
Yeah.
You got to keep it a nice, tidy 3. I'm very excited to hear from you because we are going to be talking about your 3 weirdest shark facts. Are you like the type of person who at like a party or something, you've just got like fun facts locked and loaded, ready to go in case things get a little too quiet?
No, I think that I maybe used to be that way when I was more nervous, and now I'm very comfortable with prolonged silence because it gives me time to kind of half fall asleep. And so if nobody else is saying anything, it's like, fine, I'm going to retreat to my little mind cottage and just hang out in there for a while until someone else says something. But yeah, for sure, when I used to be very uncomfortable with silence, so I would have, a good number of parasite facts to pull out and, hopefully impress people, usually potentially discuss them, but at least it wasn't quiet anymore, and that was the important thing.
I do like reaching a point in your life where when there's like a sort of awkward silence, everyone's sort of settled into like a quiet moment. And instead of being like, oh no, I have to find something to say, instead you're like, oh, thank God, I don't have to talk for a few seconds.
Exactly. And I think it's because podcasting has taught me how nice it is not to hear my own voice, particularly because I edit a lot of my own stuff. So it's always a treat not to be hearing myself,
Bliss.
Which I hope is not what the listeners are thinking.
When I pull up, like when I've got a guest and I'm editing an episode and I pull up both of our tracks and I can see on the waveform that I only talked a few times, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so much nicer for me to edit.
Yeah, because I think our own vocal tics really are difficult to hear versus I might have a guest who says a lot. And it's fine. I don't care. But if I hear myself saying I'm like, what the heck is wrong with this idiot?
Ums for thee,
but none
for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this week we have some shark facts to share. I am really excited to hear your 3 weirdest shark facts. I would like to work from maybe most normal adjacent, maybe most sort of palatable, most accessible maybe shark fact, and work up to the weirdest one. So where are we going for number 3? What's your number 3 weirdest shark fact?
For me, this one is the most predictable, and it's that sharks have been found with cocaine in their systems.
Hi, this is the main part where we talk about cocaine a good bit. If you would like to skip ahead to where we talk more generally about things like bioaccumulation, fast forward about 6 minutes. Now, that was not what I would have thought you would have said most predictable.
When you think about it, it makes sense.
I'm from Florida,
yeah.
So 100%. You're like, yeah, that seems like something you'd find in there.
Yeah. Now, fortunately, this one's not on Florida. This was in Brazil. I can't say for sure that there aren't sharks off Florida's coast with cocaine.
You know why? Because the ones in Florida didn't get caught.
Right, exactly. There you go. But yeah, in Brazil, Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks have been found with cocaine in their system. They're very, very cute. They're not that big. They only grow to be about 30 inches or 75 centimeters long. They're really adorable little sharkies, and they have, unfortunately been found with some cocaine in their livers and muscle tissue.
I thought you meant that they like had ingested like a brick and they just had it in their stomach. Because I was thinking about like tiger sharks.
Right.
You know how like tiger sharks keep getting like really weird stuff found in their stomachs?
Yeah,
People
they're not
found
very
like car
discriminating.
tires and suits of armor and stuff in there.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was like a wrapped brick.
Like a solid brick. Which is, I think, something a bear did once, right? There was a bear that got into some cocaine, and I don't think it ended so well for the bear.
Not for anybody, I would say.
But then there was a fictionalized movie based on it called Cocaine Bear, which I don't think bore any resemblance to the real bear who did get some cocaine.
Right.
I think it just ended with the bear that had the cocaine either dying or being euthanized. So,
sad story for the bear. I heard the movie was a trip.
a really cool story for the bear for like maybe 15 minutes, and then it became tragic.
A blaze of glory.
Really.
They say it's better to burn out than to fade away, and I guess that bear went down swinging.
That bear sure did. Now, with these sharks, they actually aren't necessarily overdosing on the cocaine. It's small amounts of cocaine found in their system. And so it's hard to tell exactly what impact this is having on the sharks. Basically, they've been monitoring these sharks and their health and their diets because they have become a more vulnerable species due to fishing. So fishermen both intentionally and accidentally catch them in their nets. And so researchers had already been monitoring them, and then they found like, oh, this is weird. They seem to have some strange thing in their system, and that it's cocaine. So
wow, that would be like one of the last things I would test for.
I mean, I think it's just something that, they're doing these blood tests and then something weird comes up in it and then they try to figure out what it is, rather than they're like, we got to drug test these sharks.
That's like step one. You can't hire them without it.
No, exactly. But yeah, the specific effects of the cocaine on these sharks isn't known, but it can't probably be good. There's speculation that it might interfere with their endocrine system, could interfere with egg production, and also probably they're not getting high, which is the saddest aspect of this. They're not having fun with the cocaine. It's just sort of bad for them.
All pain, no gain.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I did mention earlier that one of the threats to them is that they're sometimes caught by fishermen, and they are actually eaten as a food. And so this cocaine contamination might actually come back to humans.
It's full circle.
Right, exactly. And I don't think this is going to be fun. Like, nice. I get some cocaine with my shark. It's probably not enough to get anyone high, but it might not be good for you, particularly if kids are eating the sharks. Which I imagine that happens, I mean, if these are being eaten as food, I don't think it's an adults-only food because nobody's really expecting them to have cocaine in them.
Do they seem to know how it's getting there? How are sharks accessing cocaine?
Yeah, so the idea is that one thing is sewage could contain trace amounts of cocaine. You take cocaine, you poop, and the poop gets into the sewage and gets into the ocean. That's probably not the main way it's getting into the ocean, because that would potentially not be enough. It wouldn't be in high enough concentration. The most contamination is probably coming from dumping or from cocaine lab waste. So illegal dumping.
In this economy?
Yeah, exactly. That's like always the thing when people are saying, oh, they're going to be putting drugs in Halloween candy. It's like,
yeah,
you think so? Really?
Who? Where? Which house?
Right, exactly.
Oh no, that's terrible. Tell me exactly which one so I can avoid it.
Really, really generous drug dealers. They're willing to waste a bunch of product. Yeah, but I mean, on an industrial level, right? Like you have waste, and even if it's something that's, expensive, in that industrial waste, you're going to have trace amounts of cocaine. If that's done enough, you can have a good amount of contamination. I would love to say that they've found this is because of people flushing cocaine as the federales are coming in to get them.
Yeah.
But I can't. I don't know that there's evidence for that. I don't think there's anything to say that that's not what's happening. But I don't see information that is exactly how this cocaine is getting into the water. And the reason the sharks are the ones exhibiting the cocaine is that they are higher up on the food chain. So they eat a lot of fish, obviously, and they might eat bottom feeders or filter feeders, right? So they're eating a lot of fish that they themselves might have gotten cocaine in their systems, but it's building up more in the shark because it's higher on the food chain. So it's kind of collecting these things in higher concentrations versus, say, a filter feeder who may be eating vegetation or other things that it's not like getting in a really high concentration.
Oh, that's interesting. That's something we've talked about, I think, a few times on this podcast before. I think is it called bioaccumulation? I think is what it's called.
That sounds right to me. I'm not going to say no.
Well, you see this a lot. We've talked about this with like condors or like scavengers who maybe when like people will put out a poison that's meant to deter like coyotes or wolves or something like that. They'll put out something that's poisoned, but then that just kind of like gets eaten by everything else and then works its way up to the food chain. So whoever's at the top of the food chain is getting multiple sources of this poison, and then it just like builds up in the apex predator.
Exactly. That's why if you have a rat problem, I really don't advise using rat poison. I would always go for a snap trap, right? It's sad. It seems a little gruesome. But if you're trying to get rid of rats, that's probably the most humane thing, is not a poison.
Or a glue trap also. Glue traps are kind of gnarly.
Yeah, like with glue traps, I don't recommend that either because, it's not a quick death. They're going to be scared. Poison, especially if you live somewhere where there's like bobcats or coyotes, foxes, or especially if you live somewhere where there's mountain lions, when they eat the rats after they've ingested the rat poison, that gets into those populations and it can make them really susceptible to things like mange, disease, or outright kill them if they eat enough of it.
My recommendation would be to open up a French restaurant and then just kind of let the rats, work on their cooking skills there. Maybe let them hide underneath your hat.
Right.
Let them learn how to cook. Anyone can cook.
The ratatouille method of getting rats out of your house, I think, is underrated.
By letting them open a restaurant.
Right, by letting them open a restaurant and yank on your hair follicles, which somehow manipulates your motor functioning, which I like how they really gloss over that in Ratatouille. It's just like, sorry.
You have to suspend a lot of disbelief.
Sorry. So we're to believe that if you pull on hair, it makes your arms move.
A phenomenon completely undiscovered until just now.
The rat can cook, though. That rat sure can cook.
He was cooking.
He was really cooking
for real.
Yeah, but sharks accumulating pollutants and being sort of canaries in the coal mine is not exclusive to cocaine. There are other studies that have found metal pollutants actually within the jelly of the ampullae of Lorenzini. So the ampullae of Lorenzini are the electroreceptive pockets that they have in their snouts. And it has a jelly in it, sort of like our eyes are full of jelly. There's a lot of sensitive organs that can be filled with sort of a jelly-like substance, which that jelly allows the transfer of electricity to the nerves so they can detect things like very tiny electrical impulses from a fish moving around. And that's how they have that amazing electroreceptive sense, which that's actually not going to be a shark fact because I figure everyone who listens to this podcast probably already knows that. So,
well, they do now.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome. Bonus fact. But yeah, so these electroreceptors are common in sharks, rays. They're found in some other species of fish as well. But yeah, the jelly helps the ampullae conduct the electrical signal, which is then transferred to these electroreceptive cells, which then is transferred to the brain. But because this jelly is being contaminated with metals, it could be bad for their detection, right? It could interfere with their ability to detect prey. And the reason heavy metals are a problem both in sharks and people is that like our livers and our systems have a really hard time getting rid of them and processing them. So cocaine can actually be flushed out of your system eventually. But heavy metals, like it's interesting because it's like you almost have sort of a little bit of extra storage, say in your liver, where you can keep a little bit of heavy metals. So that's not like why we're all dead after being exposed to any amount of lead. But once you get past a certain point, then it's too much for your system and you can't get rid of it. And it's essentially taking up space that you need to be able to filter normal stuff. And so that's not good for you. And so that is definitely a concern for sharks.
That's interesting. I don't think I ever really understood what like heavy metal like poisoning or something was like. I never understood what was bad about that. But yeah,
it's cumulative. Like I'm not gonna say like a little heavy metal is okay. Well, I mean,
as a treat,
heavy metal is okay when it's auditory, but a little bit of like none is good. But it's why if there's a tiny amount of say lead or something in the water, you're kind of okay. But it's really the buildup of it over a lifetime, because it's essentially sort of like if you have like a drain, right? And you're sort of slowly blocking off the drain with little pieces of gum. It's kind of like that. That's a gross oversimplification, but
No, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of people listening are just like slowly putting down the sheet metal they've been chomping on as a snack through the whole episode. They're like, oh, so I guess.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Well, if it has iron in it, that's good. So
see, iron. People are always telling us we need more of that. So.
Magnesium, iron. What really is the difference between that and lead and mercury?
It's all elements, and they're all made up of protons and neutrons and electrons. So really, what's the difference?
Everything's elements. Plutonium is an element. It's all natural. It's all natural elements.
Naturally occurring. Well, it's not organic. I guess we can't. It's free range, though.
It's free range.
Cage free.
Yeah.
Cage free plutonium.
Exactly.
Hey, friends, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our friends on the Maximum Fun Network. When we get back, we are going to hear Katie's top 2 weird shark facts. So stay with us.
Jackie Cation, hi, and welcome to the MaximumFun.org podcast, The Jackie and Laurie Show, where we talk about stand-up comedy and how much we love it and how much it enrages us.
We have a lot of experience and a lot of stories and a lot of time on our hands. So check us out. It's 1 hour a week, and we drop it every Wednesday on MaximumFun.org.
Hello, Internet. I'm your husband host, Travis McElroy.
And I'm your wife host, Teresa McElroy.
And this is a promo for Schmanners.
It's extraordinary etiquette.
For ordinary occasions. Every week, we're going to tell you about a bit of culture, a bit of history, how etiquette still applies in the modern day, all that stuff.
We also love to do biographies and histories of and, general procedurals, how to do etiquette in today's society.
So, come check it out every Friday on MaximumFun.org or wherever you find your podcasts.
Manners schmanners. Get it?
Katie, what's your number 2 weird shark fact?
All right. My number 2 weird shark fact, I really like this one, is that embryonic sharks in egg sacs can detect predators and respond.
Really?
Yes.
When you started, I thought I knew the one you were going to say. I thought I knew where you were going. And then in true Katie fashion, you zigged when I thought you were going to zag.
Right. What was the one you thought I was going to do?
I thought you were going to talk about the baby sharks eating each other before they're born.
Yeah, well, that's nothing.
Everyone knows
that. No, so actually, I talked a little bit about the electroreceptive ampullae of Lorenzini, which sounds very Italian, but it goes for non-Italian sharks as well. They're also very sensitive to the smell of blood, and so they have amazing, amazing senses, sharks. But what's surprising is that before they've even fully been born, they also have really sophisticated senses. So there are some live-bearing sharks, and this doesn't really apply to them. This applies to embryonic sharks who will carry out their fetal development in egg sacs. And you've probably seen those. They're really cool. Some of them look like purses. Some of them look like weird little corkscrews. The shape of the egg sac usually depends on the environment in which they're laid, because like a little corkscrew shape might be good for getting that little egg sac to kind of get shoved into a little cranny by the current so that it's safe in a little nook or cranny. Sometimes they look a little bit like kelp, and that helps camouflage them.
A mermaid's purse.
Yes.
Is that what they call them? The mermaid's purse?
Maybe. I mean, if I was a mermaid, I'd definitely be going full. Like, I'd like to be a shark mermaid. I don't think I've seen a lot of those. Top half lady, bottom half shark, or vice versa, top half shark, bottom half lady.
Whichever half is lady, I feel like has to match the shark in vibe.
Yeah.
So it has to just be like ripped.
Really
like
ripped.
Muscle mommy sort of
Exactly. Or bilateral, sort of like one half
Now we're getting
lady,
somewhere.
one half shark. Exactly.
Left half lady, right half shark.
I feel like there's a lot of unexplored permutations of mermaids, which I would like to see more represented. But so researchers studied the embryos of bamboo sharks, and they found that they can detect the electrical signals coming from predators. In response, they halt their breathing and movement. So it's like, in Alien, I think, or Predator, or Alien versus Predator, there's always the scene of someone, covering their mouth. Someone's hunting them. You cover your mouth so they can't hear you breathe. You go really still. That's what these embryonic sharks are doing.
Wow.
So, and normally embryos will be moving around, and especially embryonic sharks, and they need to be moving around because they will undulate their tails to circulate water through the seams of the egg case. So the egg case is not hermetically sealed, nor are most eggs. Like, they're protected quite a bit, but they're not airtight because there needs to be some gas exchange. And so that's the same thing for shark egg cases. They're a little semi-permeable so that water can come in, and they actually move their tails, and that works as a little water filter, a little water pump. And that helps the shark breathe fresh, oxygenated water. In normal circumstances, it's actually good for the shark to be moving. The downside is that this allows predators like other sharks, large fish, octopuses, etc., to detect their movement, to either see or hear, or for sharks and other electroreceptive fish to actually detect that movement of their muscles. And so they may be putting themselves in danger if they're moving around when a predator is nearby. So the later stage embryos quickly develop these electroreceptive organs, and they seem to utilize them when they detect something is nearby, something big, potentially predator. They'll go silent, like they stop moving, they stop breathing. They just kind of are like the kids in Jurassic Park where they're hiding from the raptors. But they're embryos.
Yeah, that's wild to me that that they're so sensitive that they can even detect things going on outside of their little world there. And they're like, I don't know what it is, but there's something spooky out there.
Exactly. Which is pretty incredible because you don't usually think about embryos as protecting themselves from environmental threats, right? Like in a lot of animals, you will have the mother or the father protecting the eggs or the offspring. One of the big benefits for placental mammals like ourselves is that we can protect the embryo inside a womb. So there's a trade-off, right? It maybe sucks for us a little bit because we have to deal with this growing embryo, but it also means that unlike an egg that we lay somewhere, it's with us, we can go and get food and wander around. The embryo is protected, and it's more or less protected from environmental factors, except for what we're eating, right? It's much more sealed off than, say, an egg. And so it's really interesting to see the sorts of strategies that egg layers have that helps protect their eggs, because eggs are quite vulnerable. They are delicious and nutritious, and a lot of things like to eat them, including us. And so there's, a good number of strategies to protect these embryos inside the eggs, but it's pretty rare when you actually have an embryo actively taking its survival into its own little tiny underdeveloped fins.
Which I'm imagining in large part due to the shark mother's hands-off approach to parenting, of just being like, all right, I found a good spot for my egg and you've got it from here, right? You're set. All right, I'll catch you later, I guess.
It for sure depends on the species. Like I said, some sharks are actually live-bearing. But yeah, for egg-laying sharks, for the most part, it's just hopefully this egg sac will be safe somewhere. They might make a conscious effort to lay it somewhere good, but they don't sit on it. They don't typically tend to their eggs. Some fish will do that. Like there are fish that actually tend to their eggs and stay by their eggs and protect them. And you know how I mentioned that the shark will wave its tail to oxygenate itself? Animals like octopuses, I think clownfish, will actually manually help oxygenate their own eggs by sort of, it's really cute with octopuses. They'll kind of waft their tentacle to help oxygenate their eggs. So And that's actually, I would assume probably your listeners know about the tragically short lifespan of octopuses. And one of the reasons is that the mother does not leave the eggs. So she just stays there. She does not go out to feed or do anything else. She's just oxygenating the eggs and protecting them. And yeah, but sharks are like, I don't have time for that.
I'm busy.
I want to keep going and lay more eggs and like continue my life. And so their gambit is like, hopefully this little embryo will take care of itself.
I made myself sad because you were talking about the thing about how all the other, not all of them, but like, there are other fish and other marine animals that will wave their fins over to aerate the eggs, or they'll like protect the eggs by like hiding it or warding off predators and stuff. But these little sharks are out there all on their lonesome,
all on their own,
with nobody to waft them and nobody to protect them, so they have to waft themselves.
They've got to waft themselves. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, I'm so sad.
Yeah.
Which I know is only like our perspective as a human thing. Like, oh, isn't it sad that this poor little baby doesn't have anyone to protect it? But to the sharks, they're like, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Like, this is nothing.
Yeah, because our whole evolutionary strategy is immense protection of our offspring. Our offspring are born utterly helpless, just delicious little bundles of helplessness that have no, like, there's a few instincts that they're born with that are helpful to them. Human babies have a gripping instinct that is surprisingly strong, also in their little feet and their little hands. And that is somewhat of a holdover from when we were hairier and more primate-like, and our babies would cling onto the mother, right, as she's moving, have to cling onto her fur.
They have like a turning, too. If you brush up against their cheek, they'll turn.
They'll turn. If you kind of brush under their nose, they'll try to suckle. If you don't do this, please don't do this. If you dunk their heads underwater, they close their eyes and their mouths and they stop breathing. So they have an instinct to not inhale water pretty quickly out the gate. So human babies are also born with some pretty strong instincts, but they do move around a lot in the womb, but they're not necessarily doing things like trying to hide from predators.
Yeah. All mine did was hiccup. Get a lot of hiccups in there and kick the absolute life out of me.
I love how like antagonistic embryos are and developing fetuses are to the mother. Like, I'm going to make you sick. I'm going to kick you a lot. Thanks for bringing me into the world. Kick, punch.
And somehow you're going to be happy to see me after all this.
You'll be thrilled.
I mean, I feel like that just sets the sharks up for, a lifetime of living in the ocean where, it's rough out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like, I feel sort of as if maybe these shark ladies have it figured out, because now they can go and be CEOs.
The girl bosses.
They can be girl bosses. They just, lay their eggs, and the eggs themselves are already girl bosses.
That's true. It starts early. They have to start young.
Yeah, it's a chain of girl boss.
It's girl bosses all the way down.
Exactly.
Katie, what's your number one weirdest shark fact? I'm so excited.
I love this one, and I only learned this one over, like, in the past few years, and this is that some species of sharks can barf out their stomachs and then suck them back in within a second.
Now, why would you tell me that? That sucks.
I mean, it does, literally. They suck them back in. They barf them out and they suck them back in. So
okay. So I have a cat.
Yeah.
My cat sometimes will eat his food way too fast.
Yeah.
Because he's a goblin.
Yeah.
So he will eat all of his food immediately. He inhales his food. And then he pukes it all back out.
Reasonable, yeah.
And then, because he's stupid.
Oh, yeah, he goes back for
He
goes
sees
back for
all
seconds,
the food.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, great, awesome, a new serving of food.
He's sort of reverse engineered being a ruminant with multiple stomachs.
He's chewing cud.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, all right, I digest this one time, I digest it again.
Watch me do it. One more again.
Watch me do it twice.
So what is happening? Why are sharks doing this?
So this is actually does not seem to be sort of like, so we know with, say, echinoderms like starfish, they avert their stomachs, and that's to kind of like, they goosh it out over their food, dissolve their food a bit, and then suck it back in. That's not what's happening here.
Yeah, because they got teeth. They don't need to be doing all that.
Yeah, they don't need to be doing that. So the reason they do this is still somewhat mysterious. There's a few theories. But sharks can eject their stomach, dump out the food that was in their stomachs, and then swallow their stomachs back in. So this has been observed in Caribbean reef sharks and tiger sharks. So not tiny sharks either. These are like reasonably sized sharks. And they will avert their stomachs, which means basically it's like the opposite of invert. It's like pushing something out. So, you imagine, you imagine a shark as a balloon, and it's like you have the balloon kind of held in your hand, and then you just push a little finger through the hole by which you're holding the balloon, and boop, kind of like it bloops out a little bit. I want to make it clear the organ is not completely coming out. It's not like there's this entire stomach now floating outside of the shark. It's just kind of blooping out of their mouth.
Still attached.
Still attached, blooping out of their mouth, and then they suck it back in really quickly. So, I
looked up pictures.
Yeah, I figured you might.
It's gross.
It looks a little gross. So they're able to do this with seemingly no ill effects. In the Caribbean reef sharks, the eversion and retraction of the stomach was managed in less than a second. So this is really fast. It's probably less distressing to look at happening live than it is to see pictures of, because you probably can barely see what's going on.
That's the only blessing I'm experiencing right now, is that there's no motion in the pictures I pulled up. They're like thumbnails from YouTube videos.
Yeah.
YouTube videos that I shan't be clicking.
Unfortunately for tiger sharks, they actually take a few minutes to do this whole maneuver, so it probably does look pretty gross.
So using what I know about tiger sharks.
Yeah.
Because I talked to Melissa Marquez about them a few years ago. And one of the things she told me that really stuck with me was the thing I mentioned earlier about like all of the bizarre, outlandish things that have been found in their stomachs, because they will eat anything that crosses their path. They're like, seems mouth-sized.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. So like they'd find like porcupines and stuff in there.
I mean,
is it a vomiting thing? Does it seem like they're like, uh-oh, I ate a bad thing, better get it out?
That is like sort of the leading theory, is that this is a way to, because I don't think sharks otherwise have a way to vomit. So like they are essentially cleaning out their stomachs. Let me be clear. Researchers don't know what the heck is going on. This is all just kind of speculation, but the idea is that they might be cleaning their stomachs of parasites, indigestible bits, which makes sense for tiger sharks because they're just like, ooh, a boot.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Nom, 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 nom.
I saw something about like maybe they're clearing it out of excess mucus. I don't know why they would have excess mucus in the first place, but
because they have a cold, Katie.
Oh yeah, sharks with a cold.
They got postnasal drip. Some of us struggle with postnasal drip.
Somehow I'm imagining like one of those real wide-faced sharks, like a hammerhead shark, having a cold, and how awkward that would be for them.
God. Can you imagine trying to put a breathe right strip on one of those things?
Can't. I don't know. Like, where do you put the steam?
If a hammerhead shark wore a breathe right strip, would it go
right,
like this or like
exactly.
this?
And wearing it like a sleepy time night mask, where you're covering your eyes with a sleep mask.
Oh my gosh!
How do they do it?
Yeah, is it stretching across the
right.
front? Is it going over the top?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
I don't know.
You just have to get dueling eye patches.
Right. From the pirates that they eat, so it kind of works out.
They've got a few laying around.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very weird thing. They don't know if like all sharks can do this, or if it's only these two sharks that they've seen it in, particularly because with the Caribbean sharks, they do it so quickly that it's really hard to observe. So we don't know really if other shark species are doing this, why they're doing this, if this is something that they regularly do as sort of like tummy maintenance, or if this is something they really only do in distress, because most of the documentation of this is when there's like a human nearby, right? Because there's gotta be.
Oh.
So
yeah.
For some of them, it's like, it's most commonly observed in sharks that have been caught by fishermen where they're doing this. So it's like, well, maybe this is a shark who is really distressed and doing this. I read one theory, which is that maybe like this aversion is to get rid of any excess food that they're digesting so that they can potentially get away.
Oh, they're like offloading.
Exactly.
Go faster.
Yeah. But I don't know, because I don't think it's really clear why they're doing this, which is disconcerting. I like it when, if an animal's going to do something really weird, I at least like to know why it is,
Mm-hmm. I would love the idea, like you mentioned, like if it's something that they only do when we're around.
Yeah.
Because like,
Look what I can do.
that would be something my kids would do.
Yeah. Check this out.
If you've ever had a kid that like flips their eyelids over or something like that, they're like, look what I can do.
Oh God. I mean, there were like, I remember there were kids like that in middle school and high school. There was one guy who could do it all. He was so disgustingly talented. He could flip his eyelids. He could force the sort of thing where you force tears out of your eye in a jet. He could do that with his
was this gentleman perhaps a horned lizard?
I couldn't say. I wouldn't be surprised. He could also do the thing with his salivary glands where he kind of lifts his tongue up and he jets saliva out of his salivary glands.
Not the ranged attack.
a real sprinkler of a human being. The human sprinkler. What a talent.
Kids love doing stuff like that. Kids love being like,
that.
check this out.
Yeah, I disagree with the children on this one.
But also, like you mentioned, like it could be like a tummy maintenance thing, you know,
Yes.
It could just be like you just got to do it every once in a while, which I imagine probably feels like when you finally get all the trash out of your car after it's really been building up after like a long road trip or something, and you finally get all the trash out and you're like,
Yeah. My suspicion as someone who's never laid hands on a shark at all is that it might be so like, you know, like when human beings, like when we're really scared, we might get a little bit of digestion problem. In some extreme cases, pooping yourself is a thing. And, you know, like, which is also connected to like when like urgent pooping is also connected to when you have stomach distress, right? You eat something bad and then you have this like, gotta poop it out. And it has something to do with the way that when you have an extreme fight or flight reflex, some of these autonomic types of things like holding your poop in just are not the primary concern. The primary concern is running away. So these things kind of happen, pooping or peeing. And so
Captain, divert all powers to thrusters.
Exactly.
Even the power that's keeping the poop in.
Even
yes,
the power
that
that's
one
keeping
too.
the poop in, exactly. And so for these sharks, my suspicion is that it's something kind of similar where this stomach aversion can be done when they have like a tummy distress, like they've eaten a 5-box disc set of Fast and Furious DVDs and they have to get it out somehow, or there's some parasite irritating them, so they have this instinct to like avert their stomach. But when they're stressed, that could also be a trigger for them to avert their stomach. Not necessarily for anything practical, but because it's a stress response, similar to like my stomach's in distress, so I avert it. And then if they are under other extreme stress, they might also have that instinct to do it.
There's also the possibility that perhaps what they just ate was so incredibly delicious that they'd like another swing.
Like
at
your
it.
cat, another go.
Yeah. They're just like, you know what? I think I have seconds.
Yeah, I have definitely seen that behavior in cats and dogs where they like barf up something. They're like, oh, well, now what's this here? It's like, what do you mean, dude? You just
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, they're like, oh, no, this is interesting. This is an interesting development.
Some food just appeared right in front of me. I don't know how this happened.
What a pleasant surprise.
Mine is because my cat is both voracious and stupid at the same time.
I feel that though, man. I'm big same. I'm voracious and stupid.
Honestly, it sounds like a lot in common with the sharks, though.
I've given myself many a tummy ache by just like being like, I need to stop eating, but it's so good. And then I keep eating. Fortunately, it's not the same as I don't avert my stomach. So that's good. But yeah, I think that food does sometimes cause a acute dip in my intelligence.
Inversely correlated.
Right.
Hunger with intelligence.
Decision making plummets the better the food is.
Oh man, if sharks ever discover pizza, it's over for us.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, they'll want to keep us alive, so we keep making pizzas.
That's true. Maybe it's in our best interest.
Well, as long as you're comfortable being like in sort of a shark dominion, like a Planet of the Apes situation, except we're all making pizzas.
I wonder if this stomach aversion, if this is something that the Brazilian sharks maybe can't do or don't do regularly.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if maybe like that would be helping them to like eject some of the rogue cocaine from their stomachs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, one thing is, like, I don't even know that they would, if they ingest the cocaine, right? Like, they eat a shrimp, and that shrimp has cocaine in its body. I don't know if that would upset their stomach or not.
Right. Might not even register.
Right. And then secondarily, I don't know if the Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks have that ability to avert their stomach, whether it's just, because I don't think it's been observed in anything except for the Caribbean reef sharks and tiger sharks. Again, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen in other sharks. It's just we are usually not just hanging around with our iPhones around sharks all the time. So it's really hard to pick up on every shark behavior.
Can I loop back to, have you never touched a shark?
I've actually, that's kind of a lie. I have touched a shark. When I was a kid, I would go to the Scripps Aquarium all the time. I don't think I touched sharks there. I touched a lot of different sea life. They had, I might have touched a ray there. I know that at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, that might be where I've touched either a ray or a shark. And it has that sandpapery skin, which is really surprising, where it's like kind of smooth in one direction and really rough in the other.
Yeah. Oh, at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, I touched a giant marine isopod.
Ooh.
Which was pretty awesome.
They let you respectfully touch stuff. Like, if you're respectful and you're gentle, they let you touch things.
Yeah, if you're cool about it.
If you're cool about
you gotta
it.
be cool.
Yeah.
They have a touch tank for the giant isopods.
That's very cool.
That they've had for a few years. I don't know if they still had it, but I went when they did. But my husband and I found unfortunately it was dead, but it was a bonnet head shark on the beach in Florida one time. And I'm pretty sure I've told this story before, but that's okay. We found it on the beach we were walking around with friends. Actually, my dog was the one that found it. And Christian picked it up and was holding it. And I'm a lot better now, but at the time, I was like extremely afraid of fish.
Fish in general, or
any
okay.
fish, even like shrimp and crabs and stuff. I was very scared of them. And so Christian had this dead shark that he picked up and he was looking at. Bonnet heads are not that big. They're probably only
they're
maybe
cute.
like. Yeah, they're really little. They're like less than 2 feet long. So he was holding it and he was like, "Do you want to touch it?" And I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to touch it. But what does it feel like?" And he was like, "I'm not telling you." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "No, because I'm not going to tell you, because I think you should touch it yourself and see what it feels like."
That's one way to do exposure therapy.
Yeah, it was like a little bit of it. And I was like, and curiosity did overpower my fear. I was like, well, all right, well, I do want to know what it feels like.
FOMO much stronger than phobia.
I was like, all right, well, I guess. And it worked. I did touch the shark.
Nice. Good for you.
It does have that kind of like, in one, going from head to tail, it feels rubbery and slippery. Mm-hmm. But going from tail to head, it feels almost like Velcro.
Yeah.
Like the rough side of Velcro or something.
It's the cat tongue kind of thing. It's got denticles that are mainly in one direction. So it's like kind of rough one way and relatively smooth the other.
One of the things that I thought you were going to talk about was the whale shark eyeball teeth.
Ooh. No, I want to hear about this. Dish it.
Oh yeah, I have one for you then.
Yes.
It's basically the denticles that are all over their body, which I guess are modified teeth structures. Which is why they're called denticles, right?
Yeah. They're not necessarily made out of the same stuff as teeth, but they're tooth-like projections.
Yeah. So whale sharks, their eyes are right on the sides of their head, so they're like big, wide, spread out.
They're another one that struggles with sleep masks.
Yeah, eyeglasses are a nightmare for them. Finding frames that suit their face, it's tough. But since their eyes are like on the side and kind of in a vulnerable position, because that would make them vulnerable to like running into stuff and hurting their eyes. So their eyes have these sort of like almost like turrets, like armored sort of like casing around them that are covered in denticles.
Ooh.
So it's like their eyeballs are like armored with teeth.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's so Lovecraftian, I feel
I mean, I guess like, because now I'm imagining if my eyes had sort of a ring of teeth around it. And
a biblically accurate.
Right. I think that would be pretty useful, like as someone who is a little bit spatially unaware and I bonk into things, like having sort of a ring around my eyes that protects them from bonking hazards. Like, I'm surprised I've reached this age without scratching my cornea.
Oh, you've never scratched your cornea? It
No.
sucks. I don't recommend it.
I'm sure it does. I don't need to experience it. So that's really interesting. So this helps them prevent things like bonking into their eyeballs.
Yeah, it kind of just like protects their... If you Google whale shark identical, it will show you like a diagram of how their eyeballs are kind of set in to this, like, it looks like, I guess, eyelids, but it goes all the way around. It's not like a slit in the middle.
Right.
You can see the kind of like the structure that the eyes are like encased in.
Yeah, they've got like an eye capsule, and then but they're really tiny, it looks like. There's like a bunch of them and they're really small, but there's a ton of them. So it's like forming this big ring, and it's kind of like, I mean, so I've got an iPhone case where the case like kind of extrudes a little bit around the camera area so that when I'm dropping my phone all the time, it doesn't scratch the camera lens. So it looks like it's got that going on a little bit because the eyeball is like receded into this structure.
Yeah.
But so like, because the denticles are so small, is it like also helping them sort of protect them from, say, like small stuff getting into their eyes?
I don't know, because I would imagine any sort of small parasite would probably be small enough to get in there. But I also don't know of eye parasites being a big problem for them.
I know it is for Greenland sharks. They have the copepods that like to attach themselves to their eyes. So
gross.
Yeah, so I wonder if this does help with parasites, sort of like a no man's land for these parasites to have to navigate before getting to the nice juicy eye.
Here's a paper, Armored Eyes of the Whale Shark. It's in Public Library of Science 1, June 2020, by Takatero Tomita and a bunch of other people. And he says, the eye denticle differs in morphology from that of the dermal denticles distributed over the rest of the body, consistent with a different function, abrasion resistance.
Ooh, interesting.
They say we also demonstrate that the whale shark has a strong ability to retract the eyeball into the eye socket, and the retraction distance was approximately half the diameter of the eye. So they can kind of zoop their eyeballs back up into that little socket. And they say these highly protective features of the whale shark eye seem to emphasize the importance of vision for environmental perception, which contradicts the general, though poorly established, notion of low reliance on vision in this species.
Right.
So I guess it had long been assumed that they just didn't need to see very well because they have such tiny little eyes and their eyes are kind of like retracted in these sockets. So people, I guess, were just like, they must not need to see that badly. But this paper is kind of asserting that no, actually their eyes are so protected because vision is important to them.
Right. I wonder if it helps them with sort of large masses, right? So maybe it's not for zeroing in on like one tiny little brine shrimp, but maybe being able to see differences in light. So if you have like a nice mass of brine shrimp, you can see that, rather than using it to zero in on individual little things, like being able to see more masses of stuff, because that's kind of what you want as a whale shark. You don't necessarily need to go for really tiny stuff. You're looking for kind of groups of stuff to suck in.
Yeah, or also because it sounds like abrasion protection is an important thing. Like they're also trying to avoid obstacles.
Right.
So if they can see that there's like a big cliff or, something like a large piece of debris floating in the water or something, that they could navigate around that. So it does seem like what they're going for is that, like, no, it's not that they just don't need to see. It's because they need to see that they have protected their eyes so much.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I think that when an animal has a sense that's like weaker than other animals, it doesn't mean they don't use it. Like our sense of smell is very weak, say, compared to a dog's, but we use our sense of smell quite regularly. It's a important part of being able to eat stuff, and people who've actually lost their sense of smell like have trouble with taste as well, because it affects their taste, and it's hard to know if something's burning or off with their food. And so like, even though we don't have, like, maybe to a dog it's like, well, why do humans even have noses? They barely use their sense of smell at all.
It's like a vestigial
compared to us, where we can kind of fully form an image and concept of like another dog just by smelling their pee. for us, it's more of a crude tool, but very useful. So I totally believe that this would be the case for the whale shark as well.
I'm glad that I got to offer you a fun fact as well.
Thank you.
It's perhaps not an equivalent exchange. You gave me 3, I gave you 1, but...
I mean, eye teeth is pretty cool, so I'll take it.
Katie, thank you so much for these weird shark facts. Where can people find more of your work?
Yeah, of course. Speaking of people who have a bit of a fear of sea life, I co-host Secretly Incredibly Fascinating with Alex Schmidt, who is quite afraid of jellyfish, actually, and other weird sea creatures, which I personally can't relate to. I understand phobias, so I'm sympathetic, but I also did make him learn about jellyfish once.
Some of those dudes will mess you up.
They will for sure. It's a rational thing not to want to touch a jellyfish. In fact, I would encourage people not to touch a jellyfish that you're not like...
Jellyfish are probably super cool with that phobia.
Yeah.
They're like, yes, please don't touch me.
Yeah, because some of them are really pretty stingy. But yeah, so we do a podcast. He teaches me about cool stuff in the world, things that seem potentially boring, but they're actually really, really interesting. And I also host Creature Feature, a podcast about animals. And if you like Ellen and her show, I would suggest you maybe try it out. I've also had Ellen on my show.
I've been on a few times, and we always have a great time.
It's always fun.
Do you want people to find you on social media?
Oh, well,
Do you want to be found on social media?
I don't object to it, but I've sort of petered off, to be honest. The existence of X, I think, made me step back from social media and then realize I enjoyed it. So I think you can find me on Blue Sky and stuff at Katie Goldin, Goldin, but I'm really not very active on social media anymore.
You can find Katie by holding a conch shell up to your ear.
Doing the Katie call, which is...
And a shark fact will like whisper on the wind back at you.
You clap 5 times, look in a mirror, and say, Katie Goldin, Katie Goldin, Katie Goldin. And nothing will happen. I'm sorry, but I'm a busy woman, and I can't visit every mirror in the world.
You stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon, and you clap your hands, and in the echo back, you will hear a shark fact.
Exactly. If you believe enough, and if it's not happening, you don't believe hard enough, and that's your fault.
Yeah, that's user error. That's a skill issue.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have links to everything, to your other podcasts and where people can find your work in the episode description, so people listening can just scroll down and click through and listen. Katie, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Thanks for, your energy and your enthusiasm and your knowledge and your humor. It has been delightful as always, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This is a blast.
As always. Thanks, Katie. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for listening. I hope that these weird little treats of bizarre information have sated your hunger for knowledge, and if not, maybe try spitting them back up and consuming them again. If you liked what you heard, I hope you leave behind some kind words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. If you'd like to hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, Blue Sky. Links to everything will be in the episode description. You can also send me an email at ellen@justthezooofus.com if you have a cool animal you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. We would like to thank Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside their other wonderful shows like the ones that you heard promos for during this episode. You can go check those out and learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show over at MaximumFun.org. Finally, we would like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music. That's all for today. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly
by you.